In this video, I installed a mod that completely reworks all Yoyos in Terraria, and adding over 30 more Yoyos into the game, each having their own special effects. How will these changes and additions affect the progression of the game, and will I end up being able to defeat the final boss MooMoo? Stay tuned to find out. Alright, time to get started. So I began chopping down some trees for wood of course, and I was planning to make the wooden Yoyo as the first weapon. I collected some cobwebs because I knew it was needed for crafting the Yoyo and other accessories later on, and then I walked to the left, finding any ores along the way such as iron. I had enough materials to make a Yoyo, but I stumbled across the ice biome and there seemed to be a pretty big cave system, so I decided to check it out first. I found some life crystals, and opening the first gold chest that I discovered, I got Hermes boots, which is going to save me so much time and also making boss fights much easier. A little while after, I found the Band of Regeneration along with some gravitation potions to search for sky islands later on. After I was finished exploring underground, I went back onto the surface and built a little house. I was about to make the wooden Yoyo, but I realized that this mod includes the crafting of the iron Yoyo, so I made that instead along with the ruby hook and a new accessory called the topaz ring that generates a yellow light whenever I attack with the Yoyo, and finally the gold pickaxe to help with speeding up mining. I then crafted the sawmill and then the loom to be able to craft a white string that'll increase my Yoyo range. This mod does add a new NPC called the Skeleton Peddler, who looks very similar to the Skeleton Merchant. He sells a bunch of new Yoyos and Yoyo accessories depending on how many bosses you defeat, so I built a couple of NPC houses for him to spawn. While I waited, I went into the jungle and began farming monsters there for materials to craft the Amazon Yoyo. It took quite some time to collect enough since my iron Yoyo doesn't do a lot of damage, but once I had enough, I went home to craft it. This Yoyo had 22 damage with the Ruthless modifier included, and with the rework, it's now able to shoot thorns out that aren't really accurate since they can shoot from any angle of the Yoyo, but honestly it shouldn't matter too much if I'm fighting a decently sized boss. I also mined a crazy amount of gold from before, so I made full gold armor. Soon after, the Skeleton Peddler arrived, and checking his store, there were barely anything in there, which made sense because I haven't killed a single boss yet, but he was selling the rally and some accessories that displays my current Yoyo stats. I felt like I was ready for my first boss and I really wanted new items to appear in the shop, so I built a platform and then waited until night to summon the Eye of Cthulhu. With the addition of the Amazon being able to shoot thorns, it did feel like I did much more considerable damage. After defeating the boss, I checked his shop and he was now selling many new accessories such as the ability ring that enables Yoyos to use their special abilities. However, I currently did not have one just yet, and he was selling more gemstone rings for different lights. With some of the Crimtane, I crafted the artery, which does have an ability that allows me to steal life from attacking enemies. I had some gold left, so I purchased the rally to see what it does, and I was surprised that it spawns 3 other rallies around it. These copies deal half of the damage from the original Yoyo. Afterwards, I went to the Crimson to summon the Brain of Cthulhu. I began fighting the boss with the Amazon, and seeing that I was mainly hitting each creeper one at a time, I switched over to the rally that has a much bigger area of attack. Once the brain was defeated, the Skeleton Peddler now sold even more gemstone rings, some strings, and the yellow counterweight, and since I didn't have one just yet, I purchased it for 17 gold. It's a bit pricier than buying it from the regular skeleton merchant, but I wasn't sure when I would find him. Having tissue samples and a whole lot of Crimtane, I crafted the full Crimtane armor sets and the Deathbringer pickaxe. I then drank a gravitation potion and found some sky islands, grabbing myself fledgling wings and the shiny red balloon. Now with much better mobility, I built an arena at the dungeon and then summoned Skeletron. After defeating Skeletron and opening the treasure bag, there was actually a new Yoyo called the Catacomb. This Yoyo has 18 damage and can spew out bones that drop onto enemies, dealing damage. Going down the dungeon, I began searching for two items, the Cobalt Shield obviously, and the Valor Yoyo. I opened the first locked gold chest I found and received the Cobalt Shield, and luckily enough, it had the warding modifier on it. And after about 20 minutes, I finally found the Valor. It had the weak modifier on it, which kinda sucked, but I can always reforge it later on. This Yoyo, however, can shoot homing water belts that explode, which is not something you'd expect from water, but the fact that now I have a Yoyo that can shoot projectiles, oh man, things were going to get good. I wanted to get my health up a bit more, so I went underground and found life crystals until I reached 300 health. So, I was expecting the goblin army to arrive at this point, but since they didn't, I had to farm goblin scouts for their tattered cloth to manually summon them. After defeating the army, I went underground to search for the goblin tinkerer. After finding him, I bought rocket boots and the workshop of course, and then combined my accessories together, making spectre boots, cloud in a balloon, and the obsidian shield. I went to hell, mined a bunch of hellstone, and then crafted the cascade that has 30 damage and can create an explosion that deals 1.5 times the Yoyo damage every 5 hits. Before I take on the wall of flesh, I wanted to max out my health, so I went underground to find life crystals until I reached 400 health. Then, to replace my crimson armor, I made the molten armor set to boost my defense and melee damage. Afterwards, I went back down to hell to summon the wall of flesh, and for this fight, I decided on using the Valor because it has a ranged attack. After defeating the wall of flesh, I opened the treasure bag and received the drill casing. This actually allows my Yoyo to mine blocks, which is absolutely crazy. So it's both a weapon and a pickaxe, but a much better pickaxe since it mines 3 blocks at a time. Since I'm in hard mode now, I checked to see what the skeleton peddler was selling, and he was selling the Format C Yoyo, which is very similar to the Rally, except it has 4 circling copies that deal 100% of the original Yoyo's damage instead of half. I also purchased the Yoyo glove from him that allows the use of 2 Yoyos. Afterwards, I went to the Crimson biome and broke Crimson altars to start mining the hard mode ores, starting with Palladium. After mining some Palladium, I made the Palladium drill casing and then moved on to mine Orichalcum, and once I had enough, I made the Orichalcum drill casing along with the Orichalcum Yoyo. This Yoyo has a very small aura around it, and any enemy that touches it will get damaged. Because I mined a bunch of Palladium from before, I decided to craft the armor set, which I usually don't do because I go straight for titanium, but because I'm using Yoyos, I won't be able to put good use for the titanium armor set because I'd have to get really close up for the shards to deal damage. I did, however, mine some titanium to craft the Code 2 Yoyo. It didn't specify any special abilities, but as soon as I used it, upon contact of an enemy, it created an explosion that deals an additional hit. So I'm basically dealing over 120 damage per hit. I then went to a sky island to kill wyverns for source of flight to make demon wings, to replace my fledgling wings. With a better weapon and better wings, it's now time to summon the mechanical bosses, and it was perfect timing because the twins were about to spawn. I was seriously surprised by how much damage I was dealing with the code 2 Yoyo, especially when I was landing critical hits. After dealing with the twins and opening the treasure bag, I received another Yoyo, which was the Eye of Cthulhu. Now, I remember this Yoyo being dropped by Mothrons during the solar eclipse event, but looking at the stats, it has a much lower damage, but the special effect for this Yoyo is exactly like the twins. Having two stages, one being a laser attack that shoots from all around the Yoyo, and the second stage being cursed flames that triggers after 50 hits. And with some hollow bars, I combined it with the code 2 Yoyo to make the code 3. This has a decent sized aura that has 120 damage after reforging it to godly, but for the next fight, which was the destroyer, as soon as it spawned, I quickly rushed over to where the boss was all clumped up and used the code 3 to deal insane amounts of damage, and then to finish things off I used the Eye of Cthulhu. After the destroyer was defeated, it was now time to take on the final mechanical boss, Skeletron Prime. I used the code 3 first again, but soon figured out that the Eye of Cthulhu would be much better, since it has a larger attack area to deal damage to all of its arms. After Skeletron Prime was defeated, I made the Hack-A-Pick, which is the equivalent to the Pickaxe Axe. So, I was about to head to the jungle and start mining chlorophyte ore, but I just thought about it for a bit, and I was thinking, was there really no better Yoyo to use against the Wall of Flesh? So I searched it up and found that there was a Knight's Edge version of a Yoyo, the Abor. So yeah, the Wall of Flesh could have been a lot easier, but what's over is done with. I also rechecked the shop and found that I could now buy the Hellfire, Amarak, and Gradient Yoyo. I bought all three of them but never really used them since they were weaker than the code 3. But they will be used later on in the video. I then went into the jungle, mined a whole lot of chlorophyte, and then made the true code 3 that has a much bigger aura along with the true Abor. After fighting the Plantera bulb, I cleared out an area for the arena, and I made sure to make it bigger than usual just so I have a better chance at defeating it, and not having to search for another one somewhere further away. After I finished, I broke the bulb to begin the fight. After defeating Plantera, I teleported home, and there was a solar eclipse. And killing some of the monsters, I saw that they dropped Souls of Eclipse, and any weapons that drop from the event, I can actually convert them into neutraline scrap that will be used later on for an even better Yoyo. I needed to farm some ectoplasm as well, so I went down the dungeon to gather some, and after killing some monsters, the Kraken Yoyo dropped. This Yoyo also has a damaging aura, but it also has the ability to spawn bubbles that deal damage, however, they do not home in. I then made some eclipse bars to make the eclipse string that gives my yo-yo even more range, plus whenever I hit monsters, damaging swipes will spawn. For the next yo-yo that I'll be making, I had to create a graveyard biome because without the biome, there was no other way for me to craft it. After dying many times, the biome was finally created. So with the smudge yo-yo that I bought from the peddler, I upgraded it to the true smudge. Whenever I'm in the graveyard biome, this yo-yo will deal double the damage. Except I won't be using this yo-yo at all because I combined the true code 3, the true abor, and the true smudge to create the Tempest yo-yo, which is pretty much the equivalent of the Terra blade. With my new yo-yo, I made my way into the temple to summon Golem. And with this yo-yo, it has a big enough aura to deal damage to all parts of the boss at the same time, so it didn't take too long at all to beat the boss. Now having some beetle shells, I upgraded the Tempest to the black hole yo-yo. This aura on this thing was absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at it. It's big, black, and purple. With the black hole, I went back to the dungeon to suck the lunatic cultist. After defeating the cultist, I bought the Shakiro that has over 200 damage, and after 20 hits, it creates an even larger aura of runes to deal damage. I wondered what other things the peddler could sell, so I defeated Duke Fishron. However, doing so unfortunately did not add anything to the shop. Now I read about this mod beforehand, and apparently there were supposed to be 2 accessories that were supposed to be in the shop after entering hard mode. But because of a glitch or bug, I had to spawn these 2 accessories in. The support glove that allows me to use 3 yo-yos, and the around the world that spawns yo-yos that circle around me. I upgraded the around the world to the next tier that creates 2 yo-yos around me that deals 2.5 times the damage with a longer range. I then went on to destroy the 4 celestial pillars, starting with the Vortex pillar, Nebula, Solar, and then finally Stardust. Afterwards, I waited for Moonlord to arrive. after defeating Moonlord, the video isn't quite done just yet. There's just one more yo-yo to make, and that is the Convergence yo-yo. This yo-yo includes every single yo-yo in the game, and of course, it has the ability to use every single ability from each yo-yo. And well, here's what it looks like. Yeah, a bit out of hand, wouldn't you say? But after creating this abomination of a yo-yo, I couldn't just stop the video there. I tested it out on Moonlord, and here's how it went. Alright, that's going to be it, guys. I really hope you all enjoyed the video. This mod was extremely fun and interesting to play. Shout out to MooMoo for creating this mod. All the mods I've used will be in the description below, so you guys can check it out as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to leave a like, comment if you have any other video suggestions or mods that you want me to check out, and also subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.